The dollar really might be a bigger scam than Ripple, which is
No, it is.
insane because Ripple is a 100% like scam.
Yes, no, it actually is. And yeah, I hope I never understand the mind of a fiat economist because that would mean that I'd have to get a lot dumber.
Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm really excited today. I'm going to be interviewing Gen Z BTC. If you don't know him, he is awesome. He has his own YouTube channel. Check it out, Gen Z BTC. And he puts on a lot of really good Bitcoin content. I've seen a lot of his videos. They're fantastic. But yeah, Gen Z BTC, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell the world who you are and how you got into Bitcoin?
What's going on, everyone? My name is GenZBTC. I also call myself Satoshi Guapamoto for the kids. And essentially, I got into Bitcoin because of Wall Street bets. All right. So it goes all the way back to GameStop. All right. During that crazy run up. I saw it on TMZ. My mom's actually the one who saw it. She knows nothing about investing, nothing about anything to do with the finance world. They were talking about GameStop. I looked into it. I made a Reddit account and I got on Wall Street Bets. And I'm like, oh, this is going to make me rich. Here we go. And I bought in at a decent time. Honestly, I bought some really far dated calls. So that was amazing. I bought calls on AMC that were far dated. That was amazing. But then I got caught up in this idea of, oh, well, it's just going to keep going to the moon forever and nothing could possibly go wrong. And I ended up holding for a really long time. And I actually ended up not making that much money. I then just stumbled across Bitcoin
Did
because
you make money though?
I made a little bit. Like it was bad. I should have made like 100 times more, but I got caught up in the hype. Um, but then through Wall Street Bets, I discovered Bitcoin. They start talking about it, and it's a number go up thing. You know what I mean? The number just keeps going up and up. So I'm like, yes, this is another great play. I should get into it. So I put my stimulus check into Bitcoin. It was a whole thing. Then come the FTX collapse, the Voyager collapse. I had my money in Voyager at the time. So I lost all my money, of course. I had no idea that self custody was even a thing. So I forget about Bitcoin for a long time. Then we come around to around the end of 2023, and I start thinking about Bitcoin again. I saw the price was around 16K. I'm thinking, oh, well, it could go up 4 times more if it goes from 16 up to 64, where it was last time, right? So I'm in it for money still. I'm in it for fiat. And then I stumbled across a YouTube video by Yoni Appelberg. He's like a Swedish YouTuber guy, and it's a video about how Bitcoin mining works, like how the process works. And that was my Bitcoin like moment. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't sleep after watching the video
So
because I
what
was like, this is
about Bitcoin
crazy.
mining made you like hooked you onto Bitcoin? Because that's a really interesting thing that I don't think many people get hooked on by the mining process. Maybe some people do, but I want to know what did you hear in that made you realize it was something special?
Um, it's hard to say. I just thought it was so crazy. Like I thought it was amazing. Like he was going over how all the computers in the network give this energy to try to mine blocks and how it's also securing the network and how this continues to scale out. And at first, again, I didn't really know how Bitcoin mining worked. I just knew it was like a digital coin on the internet. And that's how most people know Bitcoin. It's just some digital coin. Not too sure how it works, but the number goes up. So who cares?
Right.
But then from there, I went down this crazy rabbit hole, watched all of his videos, started watching Antonopoulos, a lot of classics, and it just turned into this whole thing. And then I realized, like, I felt like Christmas, you know what I mean? It really felt like Christmas. I was like, dude, I can't sleep. This is awesome. This is crazy. This is the future of tech. Like, I just discovered the internet. You know what I mean? Like, I just discovered the internet of money, rather. So that's kind of my rabbit hole story. And it was super amazing.
That's really funny. So it's funny that you brought up Andreas because that's the guy that hooked me onto Bitcoin too. And do you know about the Antonopoulos diet?
I if when you say that, my first thing that I think of is the fact that he didn't eat, he didn't sleep, and didn't do a lot of stuff for a while because he was so hooked. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
that's
talking about?
exactly it. He says the greatest way to lose 30 pounds is just to not eat, sleep, or breathe anything but Bitcoin for an entire month. I want to get back onto Wall Street bets though. So was that your first time investing? I'm really curious. Like
That,
had you been investing in the market beforehand?
no, that was my first time ever investing
So you
anything.
had never owned a stock, you had never.
Nope, I didn't even know what a 401k was. You know what I mean? Like I was completely Let me see. When that happened, I was in my like maybe sophomore or freshman year of college. Again, no investing, never learned about money in school, never talked about investing in school, never talked about taxes in school, you know. And where I'm at, we're one of the worst states for education. We're like so
Where are you
that's
at?
I'm in Nevada,
Okay.
just really bad. So I'm a victim of the system, you know. My parents never knew anything about investing. I just saw these guys doing all this crazy stuff, talking about squeeze and float and all this stuff. I learned everything I know about investing by learning stuff online, by learning on Reddit, by learning on podcasts, by watching YouTube videos. I've never read any investing books or anything like that. But if you were to talk to me about investing, about 401ks, 403bs, earnings, what KPIs companies look at, what a 10K is, what an 8K is, all this different stuff. I learned all that through like Reddit. So I just think that's super interesting. It goes to show you can learn anything if you try.
Yeah, I
We live in
think
a
the
community.
internet is probably much better resource for information than most schools, actually. And I joke about that too because I went to school. I went to I went to a pretty good college, and I didn't do shit with my degree. I came out not ready, not prepared, despite going to like a really good university. I came out completely unprepared for the real world, and I became a software engineer just by learning everything I needed to learn on YouTube. So, like your point of everything is on the internet really is totally true.
Yeah, no, in the information age, it's just about like, do you have a burning passion to learn and figure out the thing that you care about? You know, that's all it is.
So you got onto Wall Street Bets, figured out that it was a, at least it seemed at the time like a good investment. Is that right?
Yes. I didn't understand counterparty risk. I didn't understand securities risk or like the risk of getting the buy button turned off, and that's a very rare situation, but it can happen, and I understood none of that.
And
I
what
just
did your mom say? Because she's the one that introduced you to it.
She was just watching TMZ, which is basically just like a celebrity gossip channel, but it just so happened that the GameStop story got so big that everyone was talking about it, and that's typically when you're like, oh, you know what? Now is a good time to sell. Now is a good time to sell the trade when the entire American public is understanding what this is. It's time to maybe get out. But that's really all it was. I just jumped into it. I said, "Oh, let me take like $100, $20, let me buy an option that's really far dated." And I copped it for kind of cheap, and then it blew up in price. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep holding it and keep holding it and keep holding it." And I slowly started to see it go down. I'm like, this might have been a bad idea, but
And tell me again about that transition from Wall Street Bets to Bitcoin. How did that happen?
I'm not positive, but I know on Wall Street Bets, someone was saying something about Bitcoin. Someone was saying something about the cycles, and again, I had nothing to do with no information on what that really meant, what it could mean, but they were just saying, hey, it's 2019, we're leading into 2020. That's going to be a bullish year for Bitcoin. 2021 is going to be very bullish for Bitcoin. And I'm like, I don't really know, but I got free money. I got a stimulus check, so I guess I'll buy some Bitcoin, and I bought it on Coinbase.
How much was it at the time?
Probably like 8 or 9 thousand. I remember I was working at a big box retail store, and when Bitcoin started going crazy during like the peak of the pandemic, I was literally in there, and I was a really annoying person who would like if I made a lot of money, I would post my my screenshot on like Snapchat or something, and it wasn't even a lot of money. Like I'm making like $2,000 in a day, which is nice, but like maybe don't post about it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of cringe. And people would come up to me, they'd be like, "Oh man, this guy, he could take the day off. He made $2,000 today." And it was crazy. But yeah, no, it was that's about that time.
So
2020.
you held it all the way up to the run up to like 69,000. So you were probably up 7x. You took your entire stimulus check into it. So you were making bank. You were doing really good.
Yes, and unfortunately, I was also an altcoin or shitcoiner. You know what I mean? I had a lot of BTC. I had some ETH, dude. I had half an Ethereum, and the only reason why I know that is because I would take screenshots every now and then of what my portfolio looked like. I had some BSV, and I had some Bitcoin Cash, all this other stuff, and I just figured, okay, the price is 600 right now for Bitcoin Cash. If it gets as big as Bitcoin normal, Bitcoin original, then that's like 100x. So I'm like, oh, this is genius. I was buying coins that were like 0.00001. So that way, oh, one day they'll go to $1. I was buying Shiba Inu. I didn't know what was going on. But once Voyager collapsed, that was my place I was buying all my coins at for the most part, because Coinbase fees were too high. So I started using Voyager. And Voyager had like 7% interest on your Bitcoin and on your USDC. And again, I had no idea what the risk could be. 7% interest. I don't know where the money's coming from, but it's totally fine. I didn't know about the 2008 financial crisis. I don't know how that happened. I didn't know about money printing. I just saw numbers going up. So let's go. Let me put my money into it. And I lost pretty much everything, because it collapsed and I was really pissed off. And it really hurt me because I told other people, hey, you should download this app and that way you can get invested into crypto. That was a really like stupid thing of me to do because I had not done enough research and I didn't understand the risk involved at all.
You were
You know,
a WAGMI guy, I think, by at the at that point.
maybe, what I mean? And I just,
Are you familiar with that? There's a bunch of like crypto people that's, I don't know if they still say it, but they used to say WAGMI, like we're all gonna make it.
okay, I know what that is, yes, but I never knew the abbreviation.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a cringe thing that people said that were exactly in your situation, that were buying every single coin, not knowing what anything was, and they all ended up going bust like big time.
yeah, no, they all got smoked. And I think like some people say, like Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor says that everyone's against Bitcoin before they're for it. And I understand what he's trying to say by saying that, but that's definitely not my story. I was 100% on board with Bitcoin. It made complete sense to me. And I think that's going to be the case for more and more younger people. Like if you're a Gen Z or a Gen Alpha, even some millennials, they're going to be like, yeah, I mean, it's a digital currency. How could this not work? The money's already pretty much digital. You know what I mean? So, I don't think that the younger generation is against Bitcoin before they're for it. I think that they don't understand Bitcoin. You know what I mean? And you get into this process of realizing that oh, Bitcoin's actually separate from all other coins. And sometimes when you say that, because Bitcoin's so different from anything else we've ever had, people say, oh, that's cope. You know what I mean? Bitcoin is like MySpace,
Yeah.
and then the future coin is going to be more like X or more like Snapchat, whatever. But because Bitcoin's so different, the closest thing you can compare it to is the internet. Like there is no internet number two. There's just the internet, and then you build on top of the internet. And what people are going to keep finding out is that there's Bitcoin, and then you just keep building on top of Bitcoin. All the other stuff outside of it is just noise.
So is that what you think the biggest misconception is with your generation, that Bitcoin is like all the cryptos? Is because I think a lot of people think that, but I want to know what you think.
No, 100%. There's a lot of guys who what they're doing is they're trying to chase gains in altcoins or meme coins. They're on moonshots, they're on Reddit, they're in Telegram groups, trying to figure out what this next meme coin will be. Then they take that money, and most of the time, what they're trying to do is they're trying to buy some Bitcoin after the fact. They'll put some money into Bitcoin after I make money doing my meme coin thing, because I can't afford a whole Bitcoin. So there's no point in buying any, So once I get my $100,000 from meme coins, then I'll buy a Bitcoin or two, you know what I'm saying? But that is not how the game works at all. You
So when
know,
people come to you and they say, "Yeah, I'm trying to buy meme coins to get more Bitcoin eventually," or they say, "Yeah, but they're all kind of the same," what do you tell them? How do you explain to them that Bitcoin is different than everything else?
that's such a good question. I got asked that in a recent interview again, and it's just so different every time. It depends on the needs of the person. You have to try to speak to what they find interesting or what they find important. You want to try to compel them by speaking to their needs and their wants. So if someone is trying to use meme coins to try to buy more Bitcoin, you just explain to them, hey, these are the stats. Essentially, all coins are trending to zero against Bitcoin. So when you realize Bitcoin is your new money, you're actually losing anytime you invest in something that's less valuable. And then you can pull up any list of charts to try to show them, right? Because these are people who are typically data driven. Because when they look at charts or they look at price, they look at numbers, they think, oh, this number is really low, it can go really high. Then you have to explain to them what market cap is, how that impacts price, stuff like that. And if there's someone who's really like humanitarian or whatever it might be, and they care about helping other people, you tell them, oh yeah, Bitcoin's really great for refugees who are fleeing their country. It's something that it's actually a freedom technology. Someone who really cares about the environment. Oh, Bitcoin uses too much energy. Oh, well, actually, Bitcoin helps to monetize energy and also stabilize the grid. So like there's all sorts of different angles we can approach. But typically when people do the meme coin, altcoin thing, I just try to tell them, hey, there's only one internet, there's only one Bitcoin. And if you look at any chart priced in Bitcoin, you're going to find out that all these guys keep going down in value, not up.
And when you tell that to them, are most people receptive, or have you found that most people kind of like brush it off?
Most people are actually pretty receptive. And I think the reason why is because one, if they know me in public already, like they know who I am, like we're friends, they're more open to hearing what I have to say and maybe taking it to heart and like actually considering it. That's the first thing. And then secondly, it's really hard to argue with the truth, because the truth doesn't need any defending. You kind of just need to expose the truth. You just have to put it out there, put it in their face. So our great website is priced in 21, or it might be called Bitcoin priced in 21, something like that. It's a website that just shows the price of stuff in Bitcoin terms. Like the price of a house is down 99%. The price of eggs is down 99%. The price of everything is down 99%. And then when you explain to people why that is, it's like, yeah, because they're making more eggs, they're making more houses, they're making more everything, but there's only 21 million Bitcoin, which is why the value of everything in dollar terms keeps on going up because they can make an infinite amount of dollars. There's more dollars chasing the goods compared to Bitcoin. There's only 21 million, and those same goods are chasing that amount of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
And it's just the truth.
you're absolutely right. I mean, I think I've seen that site, the price in Bitcoin, or at least I've seen a lot of charts where it's like everything priced in Bitcoin is just sinking, and it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what it is. It's real estate, it's stocks, it's eggs. I'm really curious to see how far that continues to go, like in the next 5, 10, 20 years. What do you think where do you think Bitcoin is headed in those times?
I think that the price of everything, and some people might say, oh, well, everything's already down 99%. That means Bitcoin probably can't go up much higher. Like, what you have to realize is something can fall 99% 100,000 times. Like that can just keep happening, because if we're talking about percentages, that's still an infinite amount of distance away from zero, and the price of everything is going to go towards zero, trends towards zero in Bitcoin terms. So what I mean by that is, if you have something that's $100, or 100 Bitcoin or whatever, and then it drops 99%, and that should mean that it's worth only like one Bitcoin, then you can
Yeah.
do another 99%. Now it's worth like 0.001 Bitcoin, and then that 0.00000, that just keeps going. So since they're not making any more Bitcoins, I could see the price of Bitcoin in fiat terms going to 100,000, 500,000, 1 million. I think we easily do 1 million before 2030. But the whole point is that doesn't really matter because the purchasing power is what Bitcoiners are looking for. Really, that's what everyone is looking for. You're not really looking for dollars. You just want to be able to buy stuff. If $100,000 was enough to buy you everything that you wanted, you wouldn't really want $100 million. You would just want $100,000. You just buy everything that you wanted. To take it even a step further, people don't even want dollars. You know what I mean? They don't want money. They just want stuff. Money's just the medium of exchange that we use for stuff. Like if you have a genie like with infinite wishes, you don't want to just keep wishing for dollars over and over to replenish them once you spend them. You just want the stuff that you want. You know what I mean? You don't want the dollars. The dollars don't do anything besides get you the stuff. So
Yeah.
stuff keep getting cheaper if you're holding Bitcoin. If what you want is stuff, then you should probably be holding Bitcoin because Bitcoin gets you more and more stuff. Quick example. Back in the day, Lazo uh, used 10,000 Bitcoins to buy two pizzas, right? Nowadays, 10,000 Bitcoins buys you the pizza company. So if you want stuff, then you'll hold Bitcoin. And most people want stuff, so they will be holding Bitcoin.
What's worth more money right now? Domino's or 10,000 Bitcoin?
Definitely 10,000 Bitcoin. Definitely 10. And like in price terms, maybe like if you're talking market cap, maybe Domino's is worth more. But I can guarantee you this: give it 10 years, Domino's will absolutely not be worth more than 10,000 Bitcoin. Guarantee you that.
I can't wait for that because on the pizza day where Bitcoin or 10,000 Bitcoin is worth more than, was it a Domino's pizza? It doesn't even matter. But when it's worth bigger, more than the biggest pizza chain, whatever that is, Papa
Yeah.
John's, whatever, I-
Yes.
that's going to be such a good headline. Uh,
It's
and
a great
it's
way.
going to happen too. It's only a matter of time. Is it 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now? I don't know what. It's gonna happen. And so many people like still believe that it's not gonna happen at all. And it's like they're digging their heads in the sand. And I think it's really awesome what you're doing, trying to like get the word out, explaining it to everyone. How did you how did you get like into starting your own YouTube channel in the first place? Like how did you go from Bitcoiner, I'm all in to I'm gonna help spread the word and I'm gonna try and orange pill as many people as possible?
Well, there's definitely a balance between like a selfish reason and a selfless reason. And the selfish reason is because I was watching a Bitcoin University video one time, and he
What's Bitcoin with university? I don't even know.
Bitcoin University,
Yeah.
you've never heard of this? He's like the biggest Bitcoin channel.
No, who is I don't know who that is.
He's the guy who starts every video. He's like, "This is Matthew Crater over at Bitcoin University."
Oh, that's I do
Yes.
know that. I do watch some of his videos. I didn't realize that that was Bitcoin University. I know the name Matthew Crater. I like his stuff. If he's watching, you're welcome on anytime, but
Go, let's go. Yeah, Matthew's major. He's just like 270,000 subs,
good for him.
and he said in some video, I would never be able to tell you which one it is because he has so many. But in some video towards the end, he was saying like, "Hey, if you attach your name to a Bitcoin, it's probably going to take you far places." That's when he changed his channel name from Trader University to Bitcoin University because he used to talk about stocks and all this other stuff. Now he just talks about Bitcoin. Um, and I was like, dude, this guy's right. Changing his name from Bitcoin University, that makes so much sense. Like that's the future. You know what I mean? So I should make a Bitcoin channel. And I'm a Gen Zer. Maybe I should try to talk to young people. I'm Gen Z BTC. I'm going to be famous. And that was my initial like reason for starting a channel. My secondary reason, and it's the reason why all people make channels about Bitcoin, is because you want more people to understand Bitcoin because you understand how valuable and how powerful it is. And you don't want BlackRock and Michael Saylor and Fidelity owning all of it. You want normal people to understand and get some so that way they're not stuck. You know what I mean? Because I can't predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen to people who don't hold Bitcoin. I don't know, but I'm assuming it's not going to be really good. It's not going to be great. And I want to try to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah, no, I'm the exact same way. I'm like, I got into this because it makes the banks obsolete. I hate my bank, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
them to have zero Bitcoin. I want the regular people who are the bank depositors to have all the Bitcoin, not the bank itself.
Yes. No, 100%. That 100%. It's like here's how I see Bitcoin. Okay, this is a great analogy. All right,
Okay.
and I'm gonna make a video about this because this is so good. I came up with this one night in my room. I was thinking like Bitcoin is a gold mine that was discovered by normal people first, right? So as normal people, we're just kind of walking around, hiking, going through the mountains, and then we discover massive gold deposits on the mountains that we hike on. And I come down from the mountaintop and I'm telling all my friends, hey, listen, don't do anything with your money besides buy pickaxes. Okay. Start buying pickaxes right now because we're going to go mine some gold. Okay. We're going to go get the gold right now before the government figures out, hey, there's gold up here. And then they're going to ban everyone from like getting all the gold. You know what I mean? Or not even ban. Like they're going to get all the gold for themselves because they have machines, they have trucks, they have entire teams of people.
They'll
So
find a way. Yeah.
we need to just start getting little nuggets here and there while we can because right now it's super cheap, low barrier of entry, and this is just a really good opportunity. We need to go. And there's some people who are going, some people who are kind of staying behind. Oh, there's no gold up there. And even if there is, it's fool's gold. It's not worth anything, blah, blah, blah. And now the governments are here. The corporations are here. They're coming. They have their machines. All right. The ETFs are the machinery, and they're eating up 1 million Bitcoin in a single year. You know what I'm saying? So there's not a lot of time left for normies, like me and you, to stack. We need to stack now while we have the opportunity because for $1, you can buy 1,000 Satoshis, right? Seems like nothing, but go back 14 years, right? You could buy multiple Bitcoins for $1. You know what I mean? And didn't seem like anything back then. Oh, you get like four or five Bitcoins for $1. Who cares? There's going to come a point where people are going to be like, dude, I have to work for 1,000 Satoshis. I have to work 8 hours a day for 1,000 Satoshis, you know? So uh I just don't want that to be everyone. I want as many people as possible to have Bitcoin while they can, because there's people who aren't even born yet who will be trying to get Bitcoin because it's the base layer of the new monetary system.
Yeah, no, and you are so right. And so many people just, at least from when I talk to people about it, I feel like I'm here, like I'm falling on deaf ears. Like I'm telling people it is the base layer of the new monetary system. And some people are into it, and some people, end up getting their own, but a lot of people just don't want to hear it. And like I always try and I'm always struggling with like how do I convince these people or how do I explain it to them that it's like, dude, get some Bitcoin, not for me, but like for you.
Not for me, for you. You know what I mean? That's a great way to put it. Because some people, and this is really rare, I don't get this a lot, but some people will be like, oh, well, you're a scam artist. You're just trying to pump your own bags.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
get
you
that too.
so I can pump the price. First off, little bro, okay, like you work at Jack in the Box. I'm sorry, not trying to hate, but like you can't pump the price. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have enough assets to liquidate to pump the price. Let's just be honest. Okay. That's the first problem. Secondly, it's about trying to get people from slavery to sovereignty. All right. Because right now we are in a control structure, right? Where your money is controlled, what you're allowed to say and do is controlled. And that's why things like Bitcoin, things like Nostr, and privacy tools like that are really important. Decentralized tools are really important. The world is becoming more decentralized. And people are going to slowly realize that, but we're just here to try to help people understand it a little bit quicker. It's like telling people about the mobile wave or the internet. You know what I mean? Like it didn't make sense because you either saw it or you didn't until the entrepreneur came around and made it super, super mainstream and super accessible, and that's going to continue to happen for sure. When it comes to trying to convince people about Bitcoin, I think that we just have to give them time and tell them to study, because a big problem is who cares about Bitcoin? Because I don't know what problem it's solving, and that was the situation I was in when I first got into it. I mean, I didn't know it was solving any problem. The number just went up. You know what I mean? Like that's all I
Yeah.
knew. Not solving any problem. What are you talking about? And then getting people to understand, oh, well, actually, there's a Federal Reserve. It's not actually federal and it actually doesn't have any reserves, but there's a Federal Reserve, and they kind of do this thing called printing money. And they don't actually print the money, but they buy treasuries, which is kind of like printing money and like all this other stuff. You have to explain that process. And then from there, getting them to understand that, yeah, this is going to continue to escalate. The deficit's going to keep getting bigger and things are going to get more expensive because your money is buying you less stuff. So if you want to try to exit that, instead of being a hamster on a wheel, you might want to get with the program and get onto a hard money standard, a sound money standard. And that's what Bitcoin offers to everyone,
Do
not
you
just
think
me.
that there's going to be a time where people like really click with that and because everything you're saying is completely accurate, like the entire system, as you're explaining, the Federal Reserve and everything, it's completely rigged. It's rigged against us. And and yet people still don't realize for the most part that there's a problem. I still hear all these people talking about inflation is good. If you go on YouTube and you're like type in why is inflation good? There's tons of stuff that's popping up all the time. What do you think it's going to take for the average person to realize that this whole thing is rigged and that Bitcoin is a solution?
I'm not sure what the name of this like idea is, but there's an idea out there that if things are just barely passable, then nothing changes. So if you're in an apartment that's kind of shitty and there's a little bit of mold in the corner, it's not like a lot of mold, so it's not really that bad. It's okay. I can kind of deal with it. You know what I mean? The situation is bad, but it's not bad enough for you to want to take a change of action. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people are in that situation where things are like kind of bad and I'm not really happy with the way my life's going and I don't really have any vision for the future, but it's okay because I can go to work and get my paycheck and kind of scrape by. And that's really sad that that's like super normal and that's like a good situation to be in, but that's where most people are at these days. And I think that things really change at two places. One, when Bitcoin is worth $1 million per coin, okay, because that should be the oh yeah, this thing is staying around forever, actually. That's the first thing. And then secondly is if we just see massive defaults of like loans, massive defaults on housing, massive defaults of like people's money, like a 2008 level crisis, part two.
Do you think
Because
something like that's going to happen?
personally, it's just so hard to say. And the reason why is because they can literally just print money. They can just rig the game. They don't need to have the collapse happen. They can just bail out everyone at any time if they have to, you know. If that if something like that does happen, then yeah, I do think people are going to be like, oh, it's time to transition over to a different monetary system because I'm tired of this. This is the second time in my lifetime, that we've seen something at that scale, at least for people who are alive for 2008, and being able to experience that in the internet age would be crazy, So I think those are really the only two scenarios. Either Bitcoin goes to 1 million and education just kind of explodes, or two, something breaks, and then people are kind of just in a state of desperation because Bitcoin is on a need to know basis. And when you need to know, you figure it out pretty quick, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, Bitcoin going to 1 million, I think that's definitely going to happen. Like that's kind of an obvious another 2008 financial crisis. I'm with you. I don't know if something like that's going to happen, or at least like not to that extent, or it might look completely different. But
Yeah. And it's just because it's so set up, you know what I mean? Like we should, to be fair, we're already in a financial crisis. You know what I mean? The interest on the deficit is enormous. It's over $1 trillion. This is unsustainable. And that's just going to keep going. It's snowballing, so we are literally bankrupt. The country is literally bankrupt morally and financially, so that's not good. And there's no way to reverse this. There is no Elon Musk Doge that's coming to cut $36 trillion. Don't get me wrong, they're trying to save some money here and there, but they can't do anything. Like the train has already left the station. Elon Musk is standing in front of the train with his arm out like this, like he's Superman. He's gonna get flattened. Like it is what it is. Like there's nothing that can be done. Our debt is greater than the GDP, like by a lot. So when you get in that situation, they say that that's you're bankrupt. You're gonna default. And the US cannot default. So what do? They monetize the debt, which is another way of saying they're going to print money. And when the next big print happens, it's going to be unbelievable. We already saw what happened during COVID. There was a lot of printing, and we pay the price today. Printing is a lagging indicator. So now, 4 years later, 5 years later, we're completely getting crushed because our dollars have no value, and that's going to keep happening. It's not like, oh, the dollar is going to get really, really strong and everything's going to be super cheap again. Like, no, that's not going to happen,
yeah,
so you have to try to reset the system.
yeah, no, I'm like right there with you. I mean, it's so obvious that the entire system is going to shit, and Bitcoin is a solution, and I just want to like spread the word. So, I mean, everything that you're doing is really good. So your favorite Bitcoin educators were what was the guy's name? Bef Not Andreas.
Yoni Appleberg, super
Yoni Apple. Okay.
tiny, tiny channel. Like, I mean, he might have less subs than me at this point, you know?
It's really interesting because like even the people with small amounts of subs, they are still making a difference in people's lives. Like I don't have that many subs right now, and I'm finding like all these people are reacting to me, and like I feel like I have my own little like fan club of people that are reacting and commenting on every single video. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily about how many subs you have, it's about how much of an impact you are making. And it sounds like he made a lot of an impact on you. So good for him.
Yeah, no, Yoni, I gotta meet that guy in person one day because like he's the guy. Had I not seen that video, I don't know where I'd be at. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I think back and I'm like, dude, what was I doing before Bitcoin?
Have you reached out to him yet?
I tried reaching out to him on Twitter a little bit or on X, and I'll try to hit him up again sometime. Again, he lives in Switzerland or Sweden. I think he's Swedish. Swedish guy.
Okay. Maybe
Uh,
he's a real Satoshi, who knows?
it's possible. You know what I mean? Anything's possible.
Do
Then
you have any
again,
ideas of who the real Satoshi is?
dude, we're all Satoshi. We're literally all Satoshi. But yeah, no, Satoshi's an absolute hero, man. I think Satoshi's super underrated. And more people will start to rate him or them, you know what I mean, in the future. But right now, people are completely sleeping on what Satoshi did. Satoshi, his greatest trick, I have a video about this on YouTube. Satoshi's greatest trick was not inventing Bitcoin. Inventing Bitcoin is easy compared to what his greatest trick was. His greatest trick was being able to invent Bitcoin in public and never be caught. That is his greatest trick. That might be the greatest human feat of all time, because not only did he invent a digital monetary network, which is pretty impressive, he built it in public and no one ever caught him. He talked about it on the internet. Like he didn't do it in secret. This is not some government conspiracy thing that he did with like Mossad and the CIA. He talked about it on a newsletter, like a online forum every day almost with a bunch of other people, and he never got caught. And then he just dipped. He just disappeared, and no one ever found him. That is the most impressive thing any human has ever done in history. You talked online, made something, it went to a $2 trillion market cap, and no one knows who you are. No one will ever be able to do that ever. From now to doesn't matter how far in the future you go. That will never happen again.
I wonder what he did that allowed him to stay private and anonymous for so long. Do you know what I think a lot of it was? I think a lot of it was just the fact that nobody thought it would work. Like, I don't think anybody cared.
Yes, yes, for sure. That was definitely part of it. There's just some nerd on the internet talking about some digital. What is he doing? Who cares? You know? But they didn't know. Some people knew. Hal Finney knew. Hal Finney knew that the price would be over 10 million back before it had a price.
Yeah, I remember reading that email. Uh,
So I mean that some people knew, but it's just like it's just ridiculous, man. It's so ridiculous.
have you dived in deep into like the prehistory of Bitcoin?
Not deep enough. I need to read the book of Satoshi and go through all his emails and all that stuff. I haven't done it. I've seen clips and bits here and there because of like X threads, but I don't know enough for sure. I need to learn more.
It's absolutely fascinating. So the prehistory of Bitcoin goes back. I mean, Milton Friedman was talking about it, I think in like the 70s or the 80s, talking about like what Bitcoin would be like. And
Yeah.
then
Yep.
the
Henry Ford.
mathematics that go back, it goes back like literally like decades. And even like slightly before Bitcoin, like they were getting really close to it. So
Yep.
it was, I want to say B Money, which was I think Nick Szabo's thing, and then there was another one. I might be getting the names a little bit wrong, but I talk about them in my book, and they were basically Bitcoin just never implemented and like never coded up. And then when Satoshi came out with Bitcoin, he was able to code it up and it kind of worked. But I mean, what do you think you would have said if you were there at that point, like paying attention? Do you think you would have even been able to recognize like Bitcoin's brilliance if you were there in 2009 or before?
Um, No, I don't. I really don't think so. And that's the thing. We all want to think, oh, we're super smart because we're Bitcoiners and all this other stuff. Um, Sometimes and Michael Saylor said this. Sometimes your brilliance is noticing that someone else had a good idea, and just noticing that someone's had a good idea is kind of hard. So, if someone started telling me about Bitcoin back then, I probably would have been like, oh, this is a great thing to use to buy stuff on the Silk Road, and it's a great thing to use to play poker online. Yay, that's great. But I don't know if I would have understood how powerful it really was, because I needed like a YouTube video to watch while I was eating in order for me to like get triggered and realize, oh, this is actually super special. Some people need a book to read. Some people need an article to read. Some people need a celebrity to endorse it. Everyone has their thing that'll make Bitcoin click for them. And mine was a YouTube video. I don't know if the white paper would have made it click had I just read it outright without really any other prerequisite to it. I would have probably thought, oh, I mean, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what the point is.
Fun fact, well, I first learned about Bitcoin because my friend back in like 2012-ish was buying things on the Silk Road. And I had the opportunity to start getting into Bitcoin big at the time, and I didn't. And I
Yeah,
looked back and I've tried to like timestamp it. And I don't know if the Bitcoin price was like $16 or like $40 or like something in that range. But like
yeah.
I had friends that were getting into it at around that time, and I completely laughed them off. I was saying, you're gonna lose all your money, and fuck me because
Hey, and look, here's the thing. Let's be real. If you would have bought it $16, you probably would have sold it 1600 at best because that's a 100x.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And if you don't do the research to understand what Bitcoin is, the price doesn't matter. Like because if you buy it at $100 and it goes to 1,000, why would you not sell it? That's amazing. But once you understand Bitcoin, if the price goes to 100 and then like you buy it at 100 and it goes to 1,000, the rational thing to do as someone who understands Bitcoin is to double down and buy as much as you can at 1,000 because you know it's going to 10,000.
yeah. I mean, at this point, I know it's going to a million. I feel like it's completely obvious. A lot of people. So this is something interesting. If you go and you talk to your average like person that doesn't really know or care about Bitcoin, and you tell
Yeah.
them that Bitcoin is going to a million or that Bitcoin is going to 10 million, they look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
Have
Because
you
that's like,
ever?
no, 100%. That's like because their first thought is like, okay, this guy's retarded.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like clearly he has a bunch of Bitcoin. He just wants it to go up so he can be rich. And he's not going to make it. And then they walk away because you're crazy and you're in a cult or whatever. And like, I get it. I get it. That's actually a kind of reasonable response
that's what
because
I thought too. That's why I didn't buy it when it was $16 because I was like, oh, the stupid internet money is $16 and you can go buy it to buy like cocaine on the Silk Road, whatever. Great, like
yeah. And
it's gonna
again,
go to zero.
if you don't understand how Bitcoin works, what problem it's solving, then yeah, going to a million does not make any sense at all. But for anyone watching this who maybe doesn't completely grasp why a million is literally guaranteed to happen, I'll try to explain it as simply as I can. And the simple explanation is that there's only 21 million Bitcoin. Okay. Like that's actually true. You have to understand that is a true statement. Do not believe me. You can go audit that. Quick sidebar. The only reason why I'm in Bitcoin is because I took a month trying to understand how it's not going to work. I took like so much time to try to see how it would go to zero. And oh man, I just couldn't find anything. You know what I mean? So that being said, 21 million Bitcoins. How many dollars are there in circulation? You don't know. How many dollars will there be in the future? Well, you can assume that the number will be higher because has the deficit ever shrunk? No, it keeps getting bigger, right? Government spending has to keep going, right? The amount of debt in the system has to keep getting bigger. Yes. So because of this, more dollars are chasing the same 21 million Bitcoins. So just like logically, the price of Bitcoin in dollar terms will go to a million. Like that will happen in real life. The problem is, what will the $1 million buy you? That's the real problem.
Yeah. And the $1 million isn't going to probably buy a lot, but Bitcoin will buy a lot. And do you know how much the dollar has already fallen? I talk about this in my book actually.
Yeah, especially since 1913, 99%. We're like 99%.
Over, yeah, it's like 99.5%.
Yeah. So then you have to think about this. Some people might say, well, it's down 99 and a half. It should be done. No, you can go another 99% down from that. Like
And
you
you're
can
going to
keep.
go 99 beyond that too.
Yes, so like take a calculator, okay? Take the number one and then subtract 99%. Then do that again. You're gonna find out, oh wait, it never goes to zero, it just keeps getting smaller. Like, yeah, you do that forever, and that's what we're experiencing now.
What do you say to people that say, "Yeah, I get it. The dollar is bad. It's has a lot of deflation, and that's why we need to back it in gold." Do you ever get people that say something like that? What do you say to them?
Not on my channel, but I watch people like Mark Moss. He's more like a older guy, but he's a Bitcoiner. You know, he understands investing. He's like a hedge fund manager, not hedge fund, but like he's a VC investor, all that good stuff. And a lot of his fans are always in the comments hating on him every time he drops a Bitcoin video. And I got to go in there defend Mark. I'm like, hey, bruh, y'all back up off Mark, okay? He knows what he's talking about. He's talking about Bitcoin. And they're always talking about, oh, this is a fad. It's not digital gold. It's a scam. Only real gold holds real value because it's tangible. It's been used for thousands of years. So a few rebuttals to this super quickly. Bitcoin being digital gold is actually an insult to Bitcoin. It's far greater. That's the first thing. Secondly, the problem with gold is that we've already used it as a settlement network in the past. Not for one time, not two times. We've used gold hundreds of times in the past, and it never really works. And the reason why is because it's not very divisible and it's very hard to move around. It's not very portable. Amongst other issues, I'm not going to go into all the issues right now, but those are the two main things. It's hard to make it into really, really tiny pieces, and it's hard to move because it's heavy. And we found a way to transport value at the speed of light, meaning that it's no longer heavy, and we can divide it all the way down to 100 millionths of a thing. You can divide it 100 million times pretty much. So it's highly divisible. That's why we call it digital gold, because that's an easy way to understand what Bitcoin has invented, what it was able to solve, the problem of gold being too heavy. So people like to think, well, gold's good because it's tangible, it's real. I can actually hold it, it's real. Gold is just a bunch of atoms arranged in a very specific way. Okay, a certain amount of neutrons and electrons in a certain configuration, protons and neutrons, all that. And it has certain properties of money. There are properties of money. And one of the great properties is scarcity. All right. If there was just a bunch of gold laying around like pebbles or like sand all over the earth, then yeah, we wouldn't be using goldless money because it would no longer be scarce. It would be way too abundant. All right. There's a lot of work that goes into producing and finding gold. People understand this inherently. There's a lot of work and effort that goes into producing Bitcoins. People understand that inherently. But because it's digital, it's a little bit harder to grasp.
What do you say to people that think, well, what if the government creates a better Bitcoin?
I've never heard that one.
That's one
I've
I get a lot that people will say, well, why can't the government just create a Bitcoin copy? Like the source is open code. Why don't they just do a copy paste? I mean, I know the
I've
answer, but I want to know what you say.
I've heard that the government shut it down, and I've heard that someone else, maybe not the government, but someone else will make a better Bitcoin. And my response to the better Bitcoin argument is that, again, at the end of the day, you can't necessarily trust anything I'm saying, by the way. You have to just do all your own research, and then best of luck to you. But I've done a lot of the research myself because I don't want to be caught left holding the bag. You know what I mean? The only person who cares more about my money than the people in my comment section, the haters in my comment section, are me. I care about my money way more than anyone else. And because of that, I put all my money into Bitcoin. Will there be another Bitcoin? No, there literally cannot be. There cannot be. And the main reason why is because of something called network effect. All right. And the network effect of Bitcoin has become so massive that you cannot reverse it. All right. There's a second reason. There's something called a Schelling point. Okay. A Schelling point is the same place that all rational actors will flock to. All right. So Schelling points don't have to just be economic. They can be anything. So if I tell you, hey man, we're gonna meet up somewhere in the state of Nevada, we're gonna meet up somewhere in Nevada. There's only a few places that a rational person would try to go to see if they could meet me, randomly. You might think, oh, maybe the capital of Nevada. What's the capital city? Some people are going to say Las Vegas. It's actually not. It's Carson City. Most people don't know that, but it's fine because the most likely thing is we're going to go to Las Vegas. You know what I mean? Oh, let's go to Las Vegas. Yes, he'll
Yeah.
probably be there. You know what I mean? Like, probably go to the strip. Oh, he's probably going to be there. If I
You're probably going to be within 1/4 mile, right?
yeah, that makes sense. Hey, we're gonna go to New York. There's only a certain amount of places you could go to meet me. Probably Times Square or like the Statue of Liberty. That's probably going to be the two main places because that's a Schelling point. So the Schelling point of money is going to be something that is scarce, highly divisible, secure, neutral. All right, and all these other factors. That's the Schelling point. We don't
So,
want something like Ripple, and I'll finish my idea really
yeah.
quick. We don't want something like that is you know, a UK based or a United States based money because you think globally as global actors, because there's a global game theory at play. Why would China want to hold all of their value in a US backed or US created cryptocurrency or a Russia created cryptocurrency? Let's flip it. Do you think the United States would put all of their money in a Russia controlled, Russia created cryptocurrency? In a China created, China controlled cryptocurrency? Yeah, I don't think so. So we want something neutral, right? And that's where Bitcoin comes into play.
Yeah, I think you just explained that so well. I actually was not even familiar with the Schelling point. So the way that you described it was absolutely fantastic. My issue is that for everyone that understands what they're talking about, Bitcoin is the obvious and the only answer. But I think most people like just don't understand Bitcoin, don't understand why it's special. And even if you were to tell them, "Hey, Bitcoin," they might say, "Hey, okay, that makes sense, but also maybe Ethereum or Solana or Ripple or like those differences I feel like only make sense to us because we understand Bitcoin. Do you think that the vast majority of people are ever going to actually understand Bitcoin? Because I don't think most people understand the dollar, and the dollar is still really popular.
That's so true. Yeah, no, most people do not understand the dollar. I would say maybe 90% of people do not.
I feel like
Uh,
it's more than 90%.
Yeah, that I was gonna say that's kind of a generous number. Kind of generous. And it's because like that's not by accident, it's by design. Don't talk about money, don't talk about where money comes from, don't talk about what money is, and I would get into these discussions at my previous job and like this warehouse. I would literally just ask people, hey, every now and then because we'd just be packing boxes standing there just all boring like little robots. And I'd be like, hey, have you ever answered or have you ever been asked what is money? If someone asked you what is money, How would you explain it to them? How would you explain it to an alien? And that would start a conversation. Most people would say, well, money is like dollar bills. And then I would say, well, that's actually currency. How would you explain money to an alien? And they're like, well, I don't know the difference between a currency and a money. And I'm like, well, a currency is something that's like government issued, and then it turns into this entire conversation. And that's how you kind of help people to start to understand, you know what I mean? You're starting the conversation because no one else will. I think at some point, everyone will pretty much have to understand Bitcoin at some level. And there's another quote. I don't know who said this one, but Bitcoin is for anybody. It's not for everybody because everybody's not going to make it. You know what I mean? We have the meme, like you said, we're all going to make it. We're all going to make it. No, we're not. Not everyone. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what's going to happen to the people who aren't going to make it, but there's going to be a good amount of them. And they're going to refuse to accept Bitcoin as the winner of the money game. Okay. Again, back to the idea of a shelling point. There's only one real shelling point, and there is no two shelling points in reality. Even though in the examples I gave, like New York, in Nevada, I gave two examples. At the end of the day, you have to pick one, and most people are going to flock to the correct one. If you are one of the people who goes to the wrong one, you're smoked. It is what it is. Like if you decided, oh, you know what, my money's going to be copper. Copper is my money because I like that metal. My money's bronze. Bronze is my money. You got smoked by all the people who picked silver, and then the silver people got smoked by all the people who picked gold. Like gold was the winner, like the winner. And there's going to be a similar situation where, well, what about Solana? What about Ethereum? What about XRP? To be honest, Solana and Ethereum, maybe they can use their technology for something in the future. Maybe you can make like an app store or something. I don't really know, but you cannot use it as money. They're not money. They're not going to be the money of the world. They're not a global currency. So again, the fact that their token has value, you're going to see that token's value continue to deplete in Bitcoin terms. So, not sure what's going to happen to those people who don't get it, but I think eventually everyone's going to have to try to understand it because they're going to be forced to use it if you want to compete in the economic arena.
So you had a Bitcoin moment where you realized that Bitcoin was legit. Did you have like a shitcoin moment where you realized that all your shitcoins were completely worthless?
Um, yeah, I did. I did. And it happened pretty much at the same time. The funny thing is the Bitcoin moment keeps happening and the shitcoin moment keeps happening too. And by that I mean you keep learning that Bitcoin is actually deeper and deeper and deeper. Like it's actually amazing. And then the shitcoin thing, it's like, oh my God, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Oh my goodness, and I had a shitcoin moment yesterday. I was watching a live stream with Bitcoin Sessions and like Pierre Rashad.
Okay.
And he was saying something like, yeah, the problem with proof of stake is that all the coins already exist and they've already been distributed. You know what I mean? At some level.
Yeah, and they're
And
all owned by the people that started the chains in the first place.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, that's actually really interesting. You know what I mean? And I already knew that there was like insider allocations and all that stuff, but like you have to understand that all of the Bitcoin already exist, but it has not been released yet. You know what I mean? But when with proof of stake coins, all the coins already exist, and the option to release them is up to the developers. You know what I mean? Like that's the big difference. The Bitcoin developers don't choose to release the coins. You have to work to release them. Satoshi locked them in time, whereas with the altcoins, the developers kind of just decide when to release certain coins. Like the XRP guys could release all the coins at once if they wanted to right now, which is way different than Bitcoin. You cannot just release the last couple of coins. You have to work for them.
So what do you think is a bigger Ponzi scheme? Is it maybe Ponzi scheme or pump and dump? I don't know. Well, which one is a bigger scam, the US dollar or Ripple?
I mean, they're just copies of each other at the end of the day, but I would actually say the dollar is more scammy, which is crazy to say, by the way, but it's true. And the reason why is because one, it's encaptured way more people. Two, you're actually forced to use the dollar through threat of violence. Compared to Ripple, there's no threat of violence, it's just threat of getting bullied by morons online, which is fine, I guess. And with Ripple, I mean, they actually have a limited supply so far, which is 100 billion. But like 60% of the coins are held by Ripple Labs in escrow, which is like a fancy way of saying that they decide to release coins, aka dump them on the market to retail. So the Ripple question is really like, have they ever bought any XRP? The answer is no. They already had all the XRP all at once, and they slowly sell it to retail. They never had to buy any because they created and released all the coins all at once and then gave them to themselves. And that's the difference with Bitcoin. Again, Satoshi didn't give all 21 million Bitcoin to himself and then started giving them out slowly. He created all 21 million and then blocked them in time. The only way to get Bitcoins is by offering energy to the network. And then every 10 minutes, you might get 3 Bitcoin, maybe. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yeah, no, the dollar is ridiculous because again, the threat of violence is literally forced upon you at birth, and it never goes away. Like you don't pay taxes because you just want to pay taxes. You pay taxes because you have to. And if at any point you stop trying to pay your taxes, you will be either brutally killed or arrested. Even if you try to go to another country because you're like, oh, I don't want to pay my taxes, they will literally hunt you down and get you. Because essentially you are a product of the U.S. government, which is why you're given a serial code at birth, which is your social security number. And when you do not, complete your function, you're defective and you need to be crushed and taken care of because you might inspire other people to follow you by not paying the tax that the government is forcing you to pay.
And you know what the
What are they
shittiest
doing with
part
that
about
tax?
that is, though?
Yeah, it's like, what are they doing with that tax? Completely
Yeah,
wasted.
yeah, they don't even need it. They could just print as much money as they want.
Yes, yes. Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, asked the great question, why do we pay taxes if they can just print dollars? And then he just didn't say anything. He just paused. And
Yeah,
then
and what's the answer?
the whole audience was like, oh my God, wait, what is this guy talking about?
Do you know
You
what
know?
economists say is the reason for that? Have you
Um,
heard like the fiat economist reasoning for why we pay taxes?
I believe it's because, well, actually, I doubt they would ever say this, but as I understand it, it's because you need to feel like your dollars are doing something. But maybe that's not their reason. What's their reason?
That might be part of the reason, but the reason why they say that you need to pay taxes in order to reduce inflation. So they say by taking away all the money of all the regular people, which is basically everyone with like a W-2,
Yeah,
it reduces inflation.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
they print it out and give it to all the rich people, like Cantillon effect to the
yes.
extreme. The dollar really, really might be a bigger scam than Ripple, which is
No, it is.
insane because Ripple is a 100% like scam.
Yes, no, it actually is. And yeah, I hope I never understand the mind of a fiat economist because that would mean that I'd have to get a lot dumber. And part of the fiat economist issue is that in their heads, they can't be wrong because they went to school for this stuff. They paid money to go to school to learn this stuff. And because of that, if you try to tell them that they're incorrect, they feel like they got ripped off or that they got scammed. And they're like, no, I didn't get scammed. I went to school for this. You are just an idiot. And it's just crazy.
So I'm curious, like, what percentage of economists actually do you think understand Bitcoin and are trying to create like a bunch of confusion around it because it is completely disrupting
What they
really
do, yeah.
why they exist, like why it's completely disrupting their jobs versus how many of them actually don't understand it at all.
It's really hard to say, but I would say maybe like 80% of economists don't understand Bitcoin at all. But there's the 20% who are super malicious actors. Like they understand Bitcoin, but they're trying to just maintain the status quo through their own arrogance and through their own, need to survive, right? They might be secretly stacking, you know what I mean? They might have some cold storage. But the whole point is in Bitcoin, you can choose to be a hero or a villain. You could understand Bitcoin and then try to mislead people and dissuade them because that's just less people to compete with when in the arena of getting Satoshis. Or you can be a hero like me or you.
So
Um,
wait, I got a question because now that I'm thinking, we understand economists are bullshit and whatever,
yeah,
but there's a reason why, or there might be a reason why they're fighting against Bitcoin because it's completely disrupting the dollar, and the dollar is they need to exist in order for the dollar to be good, or the dollar needs to exist in order for them to have a job, right?
yes, yes,
The question is, if you were an economist and you were in charge of the United States economy, I guess, what would you be doing in relations to the dollar and Bitcoin? Because the United States does make a lot of money and does get a lot of power from the dollar.
yeah,
But we also, but if we ignore Bitcoin for long enough, the government's going to get fucked. So what would you do if you were in charge?
Yeah, so like maintaining dollar hegemony or dollar global power is really important, and it should be of the utmost importance if you are a United States official, right? I personally don't really care about the dollar at all. I just want my purchasing power. I don't care what the currency is. But if I was a US official, it would be really important to try to back the dollar with something that has a lot of value and that all other participants in the global economic network want to participate in, right? And that other thing would be Bitcoin. That's why a strategic Bitcoin reserve is kind of getting pushed in the federal level because they are slowly starting to realize if other countries start adopting this thing before us, we're essentially paying them once we also join the network, right? Also, we see that the dollar is losing a lot of its power because we've weaponized the dollar through sanctions. Okay. We've also destabilized the dollar a huge amount and we are continuing to print the dollar away, which is not good. So all other countries have a really big incentive to try to move away from the dollar. We need to try to find a way to get people stuck on the dollar as best we can. Okay, we've already used the tactic of exporting debt and doing all that good stuff. And slowly people are dumping our treasuries. They don't want to hold our treasuries. They don't want our bonds. They kind of suck. We need to try to find a way to make our bonds better, to pay them better, to have them have a better interest rate, all this good stuff. Maybe we should back the dollar with something that's highly scarce, highly productive, like Bitcoin, right? Then you have a higher yield on some of your treasuries. You're able to export debt better. You can actually weaken the dollar against Bitcoin by printing up more dollars to buy more Bitcoin, which actually makes your treasuries more attractive because then the yields go up. It's a whole thing. So I would be focused on backing the dollar with Bitcoin, which will eventually lead to the collapse of the dollar in the long term. It will lead to the collapse of all currencies, but the dollar will be the absolute last one, right? And that's what you want. You want the dollar to be around for as long as possible. The only way to do that is to back it with Bitcoin because Bitcoin will be around much longer than the dollar.
How long do you think, if the government does, well, I guess, do you think the government is going to do that?
I made a prediction video at the start of the year saying that there will be no federal strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's seeming less and less likely every day. But I'm going to stick to my prediction. There will be no federal Bitcoin reserve where they purchase Bitcoin. The US government will not be purchasing BTC in this 2025 calendar year. I'm sticking to my prediction.
When do you think we will start purchasing Bitcoin? Because I mean, I think it's obvious that they're gonna start purchasing it eventually, whether it's now or 10 years from now, but at some point.
I do think maybe during this decade that will guaranteed happen.
Okay, so
But
by 2030.
yeah, I'll stick to my prediction of no buying happening in 2025, no purchasing. They might hold the Bitcoin that they have now, but no purchasing during this year. That's my prediction.
Do you want them to hold the Bitcoin that they have now, or do you want them to sell it so you can get more Bitcoin for cheap?
I want them to give the Bitcoin back to all the people that they stole it from, because they didn't buy any of that Bitcoin. They stole it from people. So it should go back to the rightful owners
Have
for
you
sure.
heard the story about how they stole it from Ross Ulbricht?
I saw a YouTube essay on it one time, and I have to watch it again because it was a really intricate and complicated way
It's
of,
crazy. So what they did is they had an entire team of like FBI agents that
yeah,
were in disguise at a coffee shop, and they waited for him to like log in.
yeah,
And so so that they had access to his Bitcoin. Then one of them came like really close to him, spilled their coffee onto him, created a diversion, and then as soon as the coffee spilled, like three more agents jumped over and grabbed all the Bitcoin or grabbed the computer which had all the Bitcoin, made sure that they kept it logged on. And then they got like thousands and thousands of Bitcoin, which is I think like 90% of the US stack or some
yeah,
big number
some
like that.
number like that, and that's ridiculous. Again, they stole it from people. Give the Bitcoin back, whether it's Ross or whoever you took it from. Give it all back because you did steal that. That's actual theft. They stole it. But besides that, yeah,
I think it's
I
civil asset forfeiture is the correct name.
oh, there we go. Oh, that's great. That's great. The government's always really good at coming up with legalese, legal speak to kind of cover up their garbage.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's what I would say. As for Bitcoin price dipping to buy cheaper, yeah, I'm always down for that. I'm gonna keep buying. It doesn't really matter if the price is 100 million. If I have US dollars, I'm going to spend them. I'm not going to spend them. I'm going to sell them. I'm selling my US dollars. I'm getting rid of my US
Do
dollars.
you look at the price anymore? Or do you just Are you buying DCAing, or like does it dip and you kind of celebrate, or do you dip and it how do you feel when it goes up or when it goes down?
I have my daily DCA set, so it doesn't really matter what the price is. I will be buying no matter what. If it's a really bad red day, I will smash buy, and I look at the price all the time, all the time, all the time, and I'm never going to stop doing that until it's no longer denominated in dollars. And there's some people who will disagree with that. They're like, "Oh, the U.S. dollar price doesn't matter," and yes, I understand that it really doesn't. But I just like looking at it. I like looking at the price of stuff. I like looking at the price of MicroStrategy every day. I'll be checking Robinhood on the weekend, and then I'll get pissed off because like, oh my God, the stock market's closed. So I just like that. I love it.
You sound like my mom. She looks at the Bitcoin price 40 times a day. It's like horse racing for her. She just needs to see it go up and down. And she doesn't buy or sell, but
Yeah.
she just
No, and
likes watching it.
I won't. I literally won't be buying or selling. But if the price goes down and like I refresh it and it's like down like 2%, I'll be kind of pissed off. I'd be like, oh my God, come on, dude, what are you doing? And then if the price is up 3%, again, doesn't matter. I'm not selling. If it's up 3%, I'm like, let's go, let's go. You know what I mean? It's stupid, but that's just how I am.
Are you at the point where you denominate your Bitcoin or your wealth in Bitcoin now, or do you still denominate it in dollars?
I try to denominate in Bitcoin whenever I can. Like right now, I'm like, oh, I want a Corvette. Let me see. Okay, it's about half of a Bitcoin. That's pretty good. And I'm like, I will buy a Corvette when it's 0.001 Bitcoin. That's when I will purchase one. You know
You
what I
see,
mean?
I think about that sometimes. It's like, what would it take for me to buy like the fancy like Lamborghini? And then I just think like, man, like the more Bitcoin I get, the more wealth my Bitcoin stack is worth, the less I
Yeah.
want the Bitcoin and the less I want the Lamborghini and the more I just want more Bitcoin. And it's like I'm willing to if I don't have a Lamborghini, but if I did, I would sell it to get more Bitcoin. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, 100%. 100%. If I had it now, yeah, for sure. Because like it doesn't make sense to keep the Lambo because it's losing value every day. All I have to do is sell a Lambo today and then buy 100 Lambos again in 10 years. Like what we're doing is we forego our daily consumption so that we can consume way more in the future if we so please, you know?
yeah. Dude, Bitcoin just completely changes your entire worldview about money. Because before Bitcoin, it's all about I want to make money to buy X. And then as soon as you get into Bitcoin, you stop wanting X and you just want more Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's kind of a problem because I think a lot of people are going to be kind of stuck and they're like, when should I do this? When should I buy this? When should I sell this? And really, it's whenever you want. The truth is, no matter when you decide to get rid of your Bitcoin, you will be kind of sad because you'll never get it back. You can get some of it back, but if your house right now is 4 Bitcoin and you decide I'm going to take my 4 Bitcoins and go buy a house, you'll probably never get back to 4 Bitcoin. If you've built that position for a long time, you'll probably never get back there.
And if you're young, like a Gen Z guy, and you have 4 Bitcoin, by the time you're retiring, like that, I mean, I can only imagine how much that 4 Bitcoin would be worth. But that's like multi-generational money at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And it won't be denominated in dollars at that point. There's no way. I think the dollar denomination of Bitcoin goes away by probably 2035. And that sounds crazy. But think about how far we've come in the last 16 years. If we zoom out 16 years into the future, 2040, around that time, there is no more, oh, it's worth this many dollars. At that point, it's just Satoshis.
So what do you think are the things that need to happen in order for everyone to start denominating things in Bitcoin?
Just more people using it at the store, at Smith's, at Walmart, at Target, at every casino, you know. That's really all it is.
Do
Just
you do you use it as more than a savings tool? Do you use it as a currency?
yeah, yeah. But only when really only when I can. If I ever go out to eat with people, I literally tell them, hey, if we split the bill, I can only pay you in Bitcoin because that's all I have. So if that doesn't work, I'll pay my fair share myself. I'll use my credit card, but I don't have any way to send you money. Like I only have credit cards, I have Bitcoin and credit cards.
So do all your friends have Bitcoin wallets now that they get where they get receipts from you or
A
get
lot of
money?
them do now, yes. I like, hey, just you already have Cash App? Perfect. Let me show you something.
So you're the Bitcoin guy in your friend group.
I'm the Bitcoin guy everywhere, you know.
Right around the time you got into Bitcoin, I was trying my hardest to get all my friends into Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and none of them were interested and none of them wanted to hear about it. And I was like, you guys, you got to get into it. So what I did was I literally downloaded wallets for them and I just gave them Bitcoin. I gave them like each like $50 worth of Bitcoin, and they all
Nice.
still have it in cold storage, or I think, yeah, in cold storage. And they're still not into Bitcoin though. I don't know what I could do besides give them some.
No, for sure. And like again, it's a need to know thing. Eventually they will come around, and that's the moment that they'll look back and they'll be like, dude, I was so lucky to have known you, you know? And then you say things like that, and people from the outside are like, oh, this guy's so arrogant. You know what I mean? Does he have like a savior complex or something? And the answer is yes, I do. But it doesn't really matter because like the truth of what I just said is still true, you know, and you'll continue to figure that out over time. The same way that today, if someone told you about Bitcoin right when it first started, yeah, you would say, "Oh, I was so lucky to know that guy." If you listened, yeah, you would say that. You know what I mean? And people today will look back in 10 years and they'll say, "Wow, we were so lucky to have watched that video."
Yeah.
Um, that's the thing about Bitcoin. You don't get any validation now. It's the same with buying it. Oh man, that's a great revelation that I just had. It's not, it's the exact same. When you buy Bitcoin, you don't get anything out of it in the moment. You have to wait 10 years. And then it's like, oh man, that was a really good idea. The same way your validation never comes in Bitcoin until years down the line. So everything we do on our channels today actually means nothing because no one will give us any credit, but it will mean everything in the next 4 years, the next 8 years. It will mean everything.
Yeah. I mean, Bitcoin is the new S&P and chill. Do you know that term? Yeah.
Just buy it, hold it, forget it. Oh, wait, my number's going up. Awesome.
What
You
do you
know,
think, or what are the big roadblocks that you see for Bitcoin in the future? Because obviously it still needs to break through to a lot of people. What are the things that you think needs to happen with Bitcoin for it to go to the next level?
Um, I think the main thing is just driving understanding of the dollar because you cannot understand the solution if you don't know what the problem is. And that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin's the solution. But the solution to what? You know, so getting people to understand what the problem is the biggest thing holding back Bitcoin currently. And then from there, just more and more people building out the infrastructure to accept Bitcoin in different places. You know, building better wallets, building better like Lightning tools, better privacy tools, scaling Bitcoin out. So that's really all. And I think that's happening every day. So it's the education thing that we're lagging at.
If there's any Bitcoin developers out there, what would you want to see in a wallet? Because I agree that sometimes the wallet software can be a little bit clunky or even like scary for newbies. Like even for me, sometimes still, if I'm sending a big Bitcoin transaction, like I feel a little hard, like a thump in my chest, like
Yeah.
making sure it went to the right place. What do you think needs to happen from like a UI standpoint?
Honestly, I think Strike has it completely right. Strike is awesome. Aqua Wallet's pretty good too. But just being able to have a really simple, clean look and then almost like hiding, not hiding, because I don't know exactly how they would go about this, but when we send money from one bank account to another, we're sending it to a string of numbers and letters the same way that we do with a Bitcoin wallet. It's a string of number and letters to get to that exact wallet, the same way we do it for the exact bank account transfer. If we can just find better ways to make that not look so scary, to make Bitcoin wallet addresses look more manageable. That's probably a big thing. I don't find it to be too big of an issue, but maybe we could start small by turning wallet addresses from just like the super long strings that we typically see into just the first five letters and then the first five, like the last five, and just putting those together and then being able to name your wallet certain things and stuff like that. And I know there's a lot of compatibility for that already, but just someone's going to find a way to just make it super clean, super easy, not scary at all. The exact same way that we navigate Venmo and PayPal, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Venmo and PayPal, like they don't even have the strings at all.
Yeah,
And I think that if we can like obfuscate away like the actual Bitcoin addresses for the majority of use cases, I think that would probably be really helpful for the vast majority of people. But that's just my own 2 cents.
no, for sure, for sure. And it's coming. It's happening every day. So we're on the path. I think we just have to keep focusing on education. The developers will keep working on their products, and everyone has a role to play, and we just have to play it to the best of our ability.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely love that the fact that you actually started your own YouTube channel just to educate. I'm like right there with you. I mean, I feel like we're all kind of like in this together. What are your goals for your YouTube channel? Tell me more about that.
I would say one of my big goals, maybe not for my channel itself, but for me as a creator, I want to give a presentation at a Bitcoin conference. And at some points, I think it might be hard to do because on my channel, I say bad words and all sort of stuff. But then I start to realize like, you don't have to be this super like preppy, professional, wear a suit, be all, I guess, politically correct type of person to get on stage and have an audience, especially in Bitcoin. You can just be yourself. And as long as you're providing valuable information that people want to hear, then you can go ahead and do what you want to do. You can be part of the system and part of the network, and you can be a thought leader. And that really inspires me, to just be authentic and be real on my channel. I don't have to make videos that are like for kindergartners,
Yeah.
like you can say bad words, you can say things that are kind of funny, you can say things that are controversial, you just have to take what comes with that. And that's really what I want to keep doing on my channel. Hopefully one day I can get to 100K. I think 100,000 subscribers would be absolutely ridiculous.
Where are you
Um,
at right now, just so that we can timestamp this so when you get to 100K, we can say that you
yeah,
improved that much from this point.
I'm at 2,100, which is such a good number, 21 Bitcoin, shout out. So 2,100, 2,100.
That's a perfect. You should be Gen Z BTC 2100 right now, or 21 million.
Yes,
That's the number of subscribers I think you'll probably get to at some point. Do
yeah,
you,
that's like the final boss,
21 million. That would be at that point you're like Mr. Beast, or I don't know, maybe not quite Mr. Beast, but you're at a lot.
pretty much. And that's another thing. I want to do Mr. Beast style content, and I'm working on that. So what I
Really?
want is, it won't be at his level, of course, but when I start out, I want to hold boxing events. I want to do challenges on the street. I want to do all that kind of stuff. But I'm just paying people in Satoshis. Like, hey, you're gonna win 10,000 Satoshis if you can do this.
Have
And that
you have you done a video like that yet, or is it one
I've
like in the works?
I've done test runs with my friends, but no real releases yet. But I'm getting better, and then eventually there will be a real release, and that will blow up my channel to an amazing level. I think that's going to be my niche that completely destroys everyone else because I don't think anyone else is going to be doing that. And even if they are, I'm gonna do that better than everyone. And I'm very excited for that.
That really sounds like such a good idea. If you do that, I want to be part of it. I want to be one of the participants and get some of that Bitcoin. But
Yes, dude. I'm telling you right now, my biggest thing, I want to do a Bitcoin boxing event so bad. Like, because I just love combat sports. I love fighting. I love MMA. I love boxing. And if I'm able to do that, which I definitely will at some point.
do you compete in MMA or boxing or anything like that?
No, I don't compete, but I do train like almost every day, and I go to the park and I go to different gyms and I try to train with people because I just like it. But I want to do that for sure and have like a grand prize of like 1 Bitcoin for the winner. And at that point, 1 Bitcoin might be too much. I think I might be giving away too much money. So maybe it'll be the grand prize of 1 million Satoshis. And at that time, if we're still using dollars, that'll be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm really excited.
Have you seen the StarCraft tournament where they gave Bitcoin out to like the fifth through eight prizes?
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
gave 10 Bitcoin for like the fifth place people.
it was
Crazy.
like 25 Bitcoin, right? Or something like that.
Yes, yes. And then the first place prize was like $100.
Yeah. And now it's like 25 Bitcoin. That's like what, $2.5 million?
Yeah, it's literally insane. That's insane. You know what I mean? And that same thing will happen to us today. People will look back, they'll look back at me giving away 25,000 Satoshis to my friend because I was paying for dinner. And they'd be like, dude, you were just giving away 25,000 sats? Like you really had money like that? And I'm like, it really wasn't a lot back then.
Yeah, your grandkids are going to be so happy you got into Bitcoin early.
Yeah, no, that's going to be absolutely insane. So it doesn't mean much now, but it will mean everything in the future.
Wow.
So
Well, I want to see that. I will be the first person to like that and watch and like that video. That sounds like really, really cool. Man.
you're going to be boxing. You're going to be in the event. You're going
Oh
to go.
yeah. No, I have a little boxing experience. I got in one backyard boxing match in college
Yes.
and I won.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you're going. You're going to be there. Co-main event.
I don't know if I can still do it now. I'm out of shape, but I
One
my history is 1 for 1, so I am 100%
undefeated, undisputed.
undefeated against one guy dressed. It was on Halloween. He was dressed as a ninja, and he looked like Bruce Lee, and I beat him. So
Dude, you literally beat Bruce Lee. What are you talking about? This
yeah,
is amazing.
yeah, all of many years, many years ago. That's so cool. Wow, man, that's incredible. Any last words you want to say? I mean, I appreciate you being on. I think you gave a lot of really good insight. Um, tell the audience where can they find you? What anything you want them to know. Just hype yourself.
Yes, yes. You can find me on Noster. Again, it's also at GenZBTC. You can find me on X at GenZBTC, YouTube at GenZBTC. I'm gonna start pushing the GenZBTC agenda. That's what I'm calling it. So I'm gonna start my membership, all this other stuff, and I gotta find different ways to give value to people who might want to pay $1 a month, But this really is like a super awesome journey. I'm so happy to all the people who watch my videos because I literally live in my mom's basement. You know what I mean? And I just make videos from my parents' house, because I am still a brokey and a wagey, you
Wait, so
know?
you are that guy. You are that guy that's living in his mom's basement that's doing better investing than Warren Buffett.
Yeah, literally. Like if we want to talk percentages, I'm clearing every single hedge fund. I'm clearing Warren Buffett. I'm clearing all these great investors. They're literally nothing compared to what I've been able to do over the last 5 years. Not even close, And you could say, oh, you're just lucky. That's just lucky. I've been lucky for 5 years in a row. Really? That's kind of weird.
Yeah, at
You
a
know?
certain point, it's not luck. It's like it's so obvious that you've done the research and you figured it out that Bitcoin is where it's at. And it's not only Bitcoin, it's self-custody Bitcoin. It's not bullshit like Voyager, where I
Yes.
mean,
Like
I think we both don't like them. You probably dislike them more than me, but
Yeah, no, the Voyager people are invited to the boxing contest as well. You know what I mean? So anyways, like it all starts as a process, you know what I mean? Like I started with GameStop, then AMC, and then from there I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna buy calls and Ford. Those played pretty well because I bought them at a really good time. Calls and Tesla, those went really well. Calls and Nvidia, that went really well. But like I'm at the point now, again, that 2023 moment it was like December 2023 where I was just Bitcoin and MicroStrategy only. And since then I have not looked back and it continues to work. It
so
just keeps
2023 is when you was when you maxed it into Bitcoin.
That's when I became a Bitcoiner
Okay.
for sure. Because that's when I
But you still do MicroStrategy too, or I guess strategy now because they changed their name.
strategy. And again, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. We can talk strategy some other time. But yeah, strategy and BTC. And basically I can't lose. And people hear that and they're like, oh no, this guy's gambling. He doesn't know what's going on. Anything could happen. You do take on risk with strategy for sure. But I can say this confidently, there is no risk in Bitcoin. That's the whole point of buying it because there's no counterparty risk. There's no risk. There's only existential risk. Bitcoin only goes to zero if there's like a meteor that hits the earth and everyone dies. At
Yeah, if
that point,
Bitcoin goes to zero, it's we don't care about money at that point. It's like we got bigger problems.
yeah. So that's just how it goes. So again, you guys can follow me in Gen Z BTC everywhere. The last kind of little nugget I'll leave everyone with is, especially with the young people, we need Gen Zers to not be lost of hope. Do not be devoid of hope. Not just Gen Zers, but everyone. Don't be hopeless. It seems like everything is kind of tough right now, and things are never getting better, and everyone's always fighting, and it's always evil and bad. But Bitcoin actually gives us hope for the future because it lets us save money for the future. It lets us plan for the future. So it's a lot bigger than just this number go up thing. It's actually a technology that gives us our freedom back. So focus on the future and be optimistic about the future. And if you find it hard to be optimistic about the future, study Bitcoin, and then your lust for life will come back. I guarantee.
Awesome. I love that. Well, with that said, Gen BTC, so glad to have you. You're welcome back anytime.